Hello, everybody. My name is Chad, and I am with Crystal here, and we are going to be talking about shorthand today, how to simplify your drawings and how to speed it up because of that simplification. Um, what we're going to be doing today is actually a little bit of a precursor. You guys are going to get an inside look into kind of how we do our live sessions in our mentorship program. And yeah, through that, hopefully you guys are going to learn a lot of awesome information. We're going to start off with a 20 to 30-minute presentation. Then we're going to jump into some Q&A and then finish it up from there. So with that, I would like to introduce my cohort here, Crystal. Hey, Crystal, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm great.
Awesome. Why don't you introduce yourself and then we can jump into the presentation.
Hi. My name's Crystal. I am a storyboard artist. I've been working for about like 7+ years at this point. I've worked at various studios, so I've been at DreamWorks, Nickelodeon, and now I'm at Titmouse. I'm currently on Star Trek Lower Decks as the assistant director. I've been mostly a storyboard artist for the last 2 seasons, but got that bump, eh? um, so, uh, yeah, I think that's mostly about me. I live in Los Angeles. I don't know.
Awesome. And then, of course, for everybody, my name is Chad. I am a story artist and the moderator, of course, of the mentorship program. I've been working in the film industry for about the last 18 years or so, mainly in live action. You name it, I have had my hand in doing it. This includes everything from doing music, sound design, editing, writing, cinematography, short form directing, and of course storyboarding, which I've been doing for the last 8 years in mainly the live action sphere. But with all of those pleasantries out of the way, let's talk about shorthand and simplification. Crystal, why don't you go ahead and take us away?
Okay, I will take over the screen. Great. Here we go. All right. So, I figured that we would go over how to draw with a shorthand. And this is how my Storyboard Pro setup is, and this is how I like it just because it minimizes distractions and like just focuses on the tools that I need over here and also minimizes my need to reach across the monitor. So like a lot of it is just like trying to set myself up for success. And mostly because I am right-handed, so I tend to draw on this side of the screen versus in the center or like over here, and that will like help minimize like my shoulder pain. Um, so, and not that I have much anymore because I've done this. What I was thinking was that basically, like how to break down people into like basic shapes, so that way you can draw them in any position and draw in any and draw them quicker and faster. And so whenever I'm thinking about people, I break them down into essentially awkward Mega Man over here. If you don't know who Mega Man is, I guess that just outs me as a gamer. Um, you can just Google him. But what I like about the character design of Mega Man is that like this this section here and this section here are a little bit bigger than the section here and this section here. And the reason why that helps is that it will help solve foreshortening. You'll commonly see this type of like character design. This is a little bit exaggerated version, but like a more toned down version, like a lot of action shows. So like Voltron, Avatar, The Last Airbender, like even like I think like DC comics and stuff like that. Like they'll have this basic humanoid muscle shape so that it helps sell your foreshortening. Um, and like how I like to think about people is that they're just a series of cylinders and squares, or I guess cubes. Geometry for me. And like for example, like these sections here. those are cylinders. These are cylinders. And I like to think of this section here as more of the cube shape over here. And all of them just connect in a fun way over here. So, like, essentially, these will help sell your form. So, a lot of times you'll see that, like, in character design, like, they'll have something here to help sell this shape. Like, a lot of times they'll have, like, a cuff here or, um, like a belt here to help sell the form. So that way you can tell like which angle your form is in. So I've drawn some complicated, like some regular ones here, and then like I did a fun tube one just to kind of elaborate the point that this helps sell that it's a macaroni, or like tubes or like hoses are pretty often things that I have to end up drawing, and like this will your basic shapes will if you can break down every object that you see into a basic shape, it actually becomes a lot less intimidating to draw. Um, so I'll do some demoing over here of what I mean. Maybe I'll bring over Mega Man with me. So like how I like to think about drawing people is that I personally do kind of start with the expression first, but I also kind of try to think about the pose that I want. So maybe I'll make Chad pick a pose for me.
Ah, making me pick a pose for you. Let's
Yeah,
do.
fire away, bud.
I'm gonna go. This might be too complicated. You tell me otherwise, but
Hit
I'm
me.
gonna go with an anime pose, a
Hmm.
classic anime pose. Let's do a Kamehameha pose.
Okay, what angle though? Up shot, down shot,
Let's do low angle.
low angle? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Let me think. I have to kind of remember what that pose looks like. Okay, so Kamehameha, if I stick figure thought about it, it's like kind of like do you want the charge pose or the blast pose actually? Because that's important.
Let's do the blast pose.
Okay, so like the arms out pose, right? I feel
Yeah,
like
'cause I think that gives us a bit better of a silhouette than the
he's
charge
also
pose.
always in a squat pose, isn't he?
Very close. He usually has
Or
the
like a
back leg
square
come
stance.
outwards a little. Yeah,
Yeah,
almost. Only the reverse. So it's like a pivot foot where the foot's on the ground and then he's like pushing forward.
just
If
trying
that
to
makes
think about
sense.
it.
So you have the back leg where you have it turned
Yeah,
inwards. Instead, it's turned outwards and he's like pivoting down, like grounded in.
yeah, it's more
Yeah,
like a front
exactly.
stance. Yeah.
Yeah, front
All right.
stance.
Oh, and the terminology that I'm using is stuff I just remember from karate as a kid. So like there's like a square stance, like I think if you just sit like it's kind of like a deep squat, but your like legs are out like this, and then like you kind of have your hands here to like hold it. And these are just my stick figures to kind of help me remember the pose, but sometimes I'm usually these days I kind of like sit there, think about the pose, think about the angle that I want, try to visualize in my head, and then I'll put it down. But like, I think that comes with practice. So sometimes drawing little stick figures like this will help you try to at least figure out the pose. So Chad decided to throw a wild one at me, but I think I'm gonna try to pull it because I've watched enough Dragon Ball. I think I can pull it. Let's see. So you said low angle shot, right?
Low angle.
Do you want from the front, from the side, like three quarters?
Let's do a three quarters.
Okay. Maybe. So this might be a bit of a weird back because this pose is kind of complicated, but I'm kind of think about it in the way that I want. Kamehamehas, their focus tends to be on the hands. So I might just focus on the hands first and like um which is gonna be kind of fun because this is my cheat hand. So I like to draw these one finger mitts. Probably not the best way to draw them, but like it helps me sell the hand a lot faster than everything else. And if I just need to like show my boss like a quick pose, like this will help. I had to hold my hands together for a little bit just to remember how they look. But like now I can kind of now that I have the hands in the spot that I want, I can reverse engineer a little bit and think about like, okay, well, the shoulders should be around here, back here. If I want to be straight on, there should be a shoulder here and a shoulder here. But most likely, I think maybe a clearer silhouette will be a little bit 2/3. So I'll just do it over here for clarity's sake. But I think the front one's always fun though. um, so if the shoulders are around here, then I can kind of math it here. Like I'll be like, okay, well this hand is here. I can kind of draw this cylinder over here to like be back here, and then hook it up to the shoulder by drawing another cylinder over here. So this is how I think about drawing my people, and like I think most people can recognize my weird stick figures like this because they're like, oh, again, it's the doll people, it's Crystal. And then same thing with the other arm, like, okay, well then the shoulder should be around here, so I'll just hook it up from like if I try to draw it through, then this will probably help a little bit better. But these days I just kind of draw it without doing the draw through. And then same thing again, like kind of hook it up to the shoulder. But because the foreshortening is so more extreme over here, it's a little bit harder to like kind of show it. And then, well, then the head's here, so there should be a neck here. And I'm also thinking about like contrapposta over here. So if this arm is up a bit more, then that means that this hip is down here, but then the head tilt is also more like here. So I'll think about like the head tilt a little bit slightly this way. And I'll draw just a face. Probably an upshot. You said an upshot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
tr I might try to exaggerate a bit more, so, like, maybe I will scale this a bit up. And it's okay to shift it around like this just to, like, kinda get the right pose. I think that's personally fine, like, no one's gonna know at the end of the day.
especially when we're talking about storyboarding, because in storyboards, it is the rough beginning, right? It's not the final product. And then even for a shot like this, it might be something that's only on there for a couple of seconds. So it's not going to have to be absolutely perfect for it, because it's got to get the main gesture and the main action across.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna draw through here just to kind of give you the idea of where this is, but I would probably have already just drawn this over here. So this is the upper torso area here, this section over here. And then I'll get rid of those guidelines just to make it a little bit more obvious. And then I'll move on to here. Some people like to break this into two parts, like this is like the upper chest area, and this is like the lower chest, and then the hip. Um, really depends on how you're feeling. I think more action people like the double split so that it allows them a little bit more bendability, I guess is the best way to put it. And maintaining that center just so that they know where it is. And then let's see. I think this leg would be up front. I might have to make myself some more space. Um, let's see. So I would probably say this knee is forward. So I'm drawing the knee. So like a lot of my thinking is like from foreground to background when I'm drawing these characters. So that way I can kind of hook them up. So it's like, okay, well, like if the knee's over here, then like, and I want to do it like foreground wise, I might use the cylinder to like move myself forward just so, and I love people with boots to like kind of help sell that. Because then I could be like, look, it's a cylinder, it's going towards the camera, easy peasy. And then my foot, I kind of think about it like this is sort of like a square shape over here that has this weird hoof over here. And then like I'll try to draw like the front of the shoe here, and like that will like kind of help connect here. So a lot of this will also be like the like me trying to help sell the foot. Sometimes I like the nice like big thing, but if their feet is like a little bit more shoe shaped, I tend to do like a little box shape here. So that's how I kind of sell a foot. And then I'll like hook this up over here, be like, okay, well this will hook up to the hip area here. And then this will probably be the orientation of this bottom area is probably more like over here. It's kind of hard to say. You might actually and see, like, like even me, I'm like trying to like mind and math myself into figuring out how this works. So it's not like you ever change. It's just that you might kind of think about it a little bit harder when there's a harder pose. You know what? I might have to
Yeah.
sell this a bit more and move it a little bit more
And
this way.
And if you I would say, because like, I mean, what we're seeing here, right? It really does just come down to shape language, right? Having a good understanding, and that's really what form in general for anatomy is. It's a good understanding of shape language, and then being able to build on top of that language here. All of this is just, as you mentioned earlier, it's just squares or cubes, spheres, and and varieties of simple shapes built into this. And then even when we're doing like a 30-second gesture or a 2-minute gesture or something, you're taking the same thing and you're throwing it down with a line of action, right, to kind of quickly get everything down to be able to get it to read. Um, and and that's what we want to do. And the more you do this, the more you get into this, the faster you're going to get at being able to throw these poses down and throw your story down.
Yeah, and then like from there, because I'm a reverse engineer, I'll like throw in like a sky grid later, but like I have it in mind when I'm thinking about it. But like if this helps you, then like you could help sell yourself by like doing like something like this to kind of make sure your perspective is good. But um eventually you get to the point where you're like, well, I kind of have it in mind, and then like, okay, well, I did it well enough, but I feel like I could push it a little bit more, and this is where I could like whistle, 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 cheat a little bit, pull the perspective tool out, and like just kind of nudge it a little bit closer to what I thought I wanted. Sometimes I just don't nail it in the drawing, and I'm like, oh well, that's okay, I'll just adjust it from there. But when you're on paper, it's a little bit harder to like cheat a little bit like that. um, and to get this level of confidence, I think I just spent a long time just drawing just in pen, like no pencil at all, just like go straight to pen and be like, okay, how would I draw this character if I only had pen? How do I make it look clear without like being like um 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 maybe oh no, there's so many extra lines.
Yeah, I think
um
one of a great exercise for that particular thing, even beyond just the pen, is it's the Sharpie Post-it exercise. If you were doing it traditionally, this is the way you would do it the traditionalists is you get a Post-it and you get a big old fat Sharpie, right? And so it's going to force you to have to think very simple and only go after the basic shape language and basic form first. And then once you've got that down, then you're like, cool, does it read? It does. Awesome. I've done it. Digitally, you could do it the same way by getting an extremely fat brush and then taking uh, your panel and just shrinking your panel down. So that way you're basically creating a digital version of a post-it note to be able to get that practice in. Very effective tools to be able to work on practicing your simplification, and it'll also help you with speed as well.
Also just gonna push that back a little bit. I felt like the angle of the
Yeah.
leg was a little funny. Yeah, and I think, like, when you're first starting out, you wanna draw out the form, so, like, when I'm thinking about it, like, this cylinder here, that's technically where it connects to the hand, like, around here. And I'm also thinking about the other part of the cylinder connecting here and connecting here. It's just that I don't draw it because I'm just thinking about it instead of drawing it. So, like, eventually, like, a lot of people think, like, oh, if I just draw faster, I will get the shape that I need. And, like, that, I think that a lot of the speed that I get these days is just thinking of intention before I draw it and then, like, be like, yes. Um, and, like, so, like, you can kinda tell that, like, maybe at best, like, I'll just do two strokes to, like, do it, but, like, ideally, I wanna get to nailing it on the first try.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that comes with
So
time and practice. You won't get that, like, until maybe like another 5,000 hours.
Well, you saw us, we're doing this with the human form. Before you and I jumped on here live, you were telling me about doing it with animals. So why don't you show us some of your process for doing it with like the four-legged creature?
Yeah, so like I've realized that I've given this talk a decent amount of times with Mega Man, but like I never really talked about how to do animals, and I'm like, I mean, I'm so like admittedly, like before I started working professionally, I like was not confident at all in animals. Like I was like, I can't draw them, I don't know how. And then I took an animal anatomy class, and so I learned just enough just to fake it for the rest of my career. Um, so for animals, I'm gonna use Marty as an example. He's from Madagascar. This is the baby version of him, and I worked on a show for like the preschool version of Madagascar. So it's a little bit simpler shapes and a little bit easier to digest. But essentially, a horse is like you got your head. It's generally diamond shaped, but like I don't really I don't really do that. I just think about like, okay, horse, the nose is here. It attaches in this weird shape that is like a like a cone kind of. And like I know the eye is around here, but like ideally there is a diamond shape like around here. I don't draw it. And I know the ears come around here. And then like around here is like he that teacher taught me it was basically like a tombstone shape, and it's weird. I can never draw it right every time, but the head hooks up to the body in this tombstone shape over here. And then like the rest of the body is just a fun tube. So like it just kind of connects here, and then like back here is like a box shape. And the reason why the box shape is there is so that you know that the knee hits right around here. So then the knee hits right around here, and you're like, okay, that hind leg goes back here in this cylinder this way. And I know I'm probably not the best person to like explain it, but like this goes down this way, and then like you got your hoof down here, and like up here is like where the front legs connect. So I'll draw that in red, like here and here. And this will also go down into a little cylinder. This is where the knee is. This is the like rest of the foot. And then like the hoof is over here too. So like this is my bad horse, but it's just enough to get boards to figure it out. And like same thing here. It's like, okay, well, if I drew through like this box over here, then I know that this knee hits here. So then I could just draw the rest of the leg back here. And you get at least like a decently serviceable horse. I believe there was like a joke a long time ago where it's like, draw your mind horse. And it's like all just bad horses from everyone. Um, so it was just really funny. And then I'll just throw in the tail, but the tail should like kind of come from here. It's like in the middle of this box back here. So like those are the constructions lines. I don't end up drawing these a lot because I don't think about it, but you know what? I'll leave it here in case anyone's like curious. And then I don't know. They usually have hair here, like ooh, gorgeous hair. Probably more accurately, it's like a little tuft here, a little bit of hair here. Ooh, a horse. So in cartoon forms, I break down Marty more like this. But the same principles still apply. Like there's still that box shape back here. You know, there's this circular ish shape, tombstone shape up here. And like there's still this connector over here. And like now that you know the basic shapes, you can rotate the shapes into where you need it to be. Um, and then from there, you can kind of cheat a little bit with gestures. So like, um, right, that's not the next slide. If you have hard times trying to figure out how a horse or any animal uh, like can be posed. Just think about your body like like a horse, and you'll have this cursed image for the rest of your life in your head. So like the correlation of a horse body to a human body is like this. Um, so like the knee is actually here. Like this knee is over here. Is like kind of over here. If the human form was a little bit more accurate to horse, like this leg would probably be about like your thigh would be about this long, and then like your shin is like this long and it's cursed. And like the same thing with the hoof, it's actually like most animal feet, it's actually like a hand that like stands like this on the ground, like, that's how it is, like, it's actually it's not the hand that's down here, it's the hand is, like, this upper part up here, and they're all standing on, like, basically tippy toes for the rest of their life. It's terrible, I hate it. Like, thinking about people and animals like this, it's just like, "Ah, no, 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 no." But it helps you realize that, like, your arm will move like this, which is how an animal would move their hand and their feet, and, like, how you can move in this section here like kind of helps you realize how animal anatomy works. And so this is like my kind of janky understanding of it, but it helps me work on cute little animal shows, and I love drawing like cute shows. So you'll get like cute little gestures like these where I'm thinking about like this. And I think with animals I tend to be a little bit looser because they're so lively. So like as long as you kinda have, like, your general idea of, like, where a head is, where the body is, and then, like, where the butt is, like, you can kinda, like, figure out your gesture from there. So, I think for animals, I think a little bit differently just because they tend to require a little bit more action. I don't know what kinda action I wanna do, though, for that I haven't drawn already this morning.
Well, I mean, like this is great. Even going back to that one, right? The quicker
Yeah,
drawing, right? When we're talking about trying to be faster, if we look at this, everything that you've talked about is still there, right? All of the basic fundamentals of we talked about of the shape language are there. They're just built into a just a quicker stroke, right? Like obviously we're slowing it down a little bit here because of the fact that we're trying to teach and explain the thought process, right? But even now, here, when we look at this, you could see it still being applied, but it's more of just, okay, here's the form, here's the line of action. Now let's throw that shape language quickly down over it to give it its form.
yeah.
And this is storyboarding. This is those early parts of storyboarding all the way.
Yeah, and like the speed comes with understanding and confidence. So like because I understand enough about animal anatomy, I'm like, okay, I got this. And then like the confidence is just the fact that I've drawn it enough times. So I'm like, okay, like I could kind of fake it. But like even then, like you'll notice like I don't draw all the bits here. Like sometimes I just draw this like funny like taper over here, and that's enough to like sell the form. Like sometimes I don't need this part unless I want to like sell like a little hand gesture like this area over here. So maybe I
So,
will.
and this, as a real quick, this kind of brings into a question that I saw in the chat. So I'm going to bring the question up really quickly here. As far as books, they're mentioning it in a cartoony style, but I also want to kind of expand it into more of a foundational style. This is from Kachi. I hope I said your name right. I'm saying, are there any books you would recommend to take a look to help with a cartoony art style or any website? I want to take it a little bit further, not just cartoony, because cartoony is really an understanding of foundation exaggerated with your shape language exaggerated. But your foundational tools, like what kind of books would you recommend, Crystal, to help propel and develop that foundational style so we can go into the more advanced simplification, so to speak, with cartoons?
With books, I'm so terrible. um, shoot, I think Joe Weatherly has like a really good book, but like I don't know if I even still keep it around me. Sometimes I just like having like a good reference. Um, but like I feel like for me personally, like there's nothing better than like once you kind of maybe a medical like science book just to kind of get the general understanding of their bones and their shape. But like nothing really beats going to like a zoo and then like watching animals like act and then try to figure it out. And like the reason why I say that is because animals don't care that you're drawing. They're just gonna do whatever they want. So like a lot of it is just like just staring of stuff like intensely at animals, try to get that like that pose that you're thinking of, like memorize it and then think about it and then like try to draw it out. Because when you're animal drawing in life, like they're just always moving and they don't care. Unless they're sleeping, then but then, like, you'll just have, like, a bunch of sketchbooks of, like, sleeping animals and, like, be like, "Oh, well, like, that's really cute and all, but, like, I need that gesture, like, how do I get this shape and this gesture?" Like, if they're wandering around and, like, kinda doing doing their business. So, I hate that I'm, like, the worst person to be like, "But how do you book?" And I'm like, "What if I told you I'm terrible at book?"
Yeah, life drawing is absolutely amazing. It is, I think, definitely a necessity. Something we should all be trying to put um, into our routine, anyways, as well. To go along with that, right? Because you mentioned with animals with the zoo, there are definitely a lot of websites that you can go to online that have figure drawing stuff. The one I tend to like a lot is Bodies in Motion, simply because they do 4K video, so you still get all the energy and everything that you would otherwise wouldn't get from a still photography type of thing. Um, which I've always found really cool. But I also saw Sergio tossed in a response as well, talking about Grizz and Norm.
Oh, yes,
And yeah,
Chris and
Grizz
Norm
and
are
Norm
great.
has, yeah, they've got an amazing book. There's two of them called the 100 Tuesday Tips. They've two versions of it. I believe they sell it on their Etsy, but it's got so much great stuff. Talks about kind of a lot of the same similar stuff that we talked about here in shape, language, and form, right? In a wide variety of unique ways of silhouettes and all that. It's definitely a book I recommend as well. So yeah. Um,
I threw in a free giraffe because they also have a giraffe on the show, so, like, I love drawing Melman. He's got this fun little uh, kooky little neck. Like
awesome.
but, like, even then, the same principles still apply. They're just different, like, different length. Like, this neck is like this neck. So, like, once you got, like, a horse, you kinda got, like, 90% of animals, and then you get the wild curve called the bird. And those guys still kind of remain a mystery to me, but like their wings are like I guess if I was a cursed human pretending to be a bird, like it would just be like shoulder, arm, like and then like the hand is here and then like my fingers are like a mile long and that like terrifying.
the, the Freddy Krueger fingers. um, so there's another person that Stigan also brought up when we're talking about simplification, right? That we want to simplify, but we still want it to be believable and accurate. And I definitely agree with this. I do think that there is a extension to this, or there like when we're talking about our thumbnails and stuff, right? Before it goes to like say a director for their first stuff, if you can tell what it is for your purposes, you're good because the whole idea between thumbnailing and storyboards is to get your idea down quick and get it down efficiently, right? And then once you've got everything down, you can go back and do some minor simplification, clean up clarity issue stuff, so that way you can give it to your director or supervisor, right? Um,
And most of them will understand like as we like to joke, star people. It's like just enough to sell the silhouette, but like That like you can tell that's a person running, but that's like a 5-second person, you know.
Mm.
Or like so like star people are sort of like if I was to be a little bit more obnoxious, it's sort of like what up party people? That
And
these are like
and
star
even
people.
in situations for that when we're talking about storyboarding, okay, cool. These are two different star people that we have. Maybe it's in the same scene. One person's doing the what up people, the other person's running to jump into the party, right? How can we differentiate between the two early on? Well, there's a couple of different ways. We could just throw down an initial. This is C for Chad, and this is CH for Crystal, right?
Yeah. Oh, look,
Or
it's Chad holding a sword. Wow.
exactly. Or you just throw down an identifier, right? Maybe I'm running and I've got my headphones on, and the other person going what is Crystal. You throw down the glasses, right? Just a couple of lines for some glasses. Now all of a sudden, bam, I know who's who. And that's something that you keep all the way through your boards to be able to identify and know the differences. Or small color stuff like that as well helps. It's how they do
Yeah.
it with turtles. Like they'll have all the turtles look almost exactly the same, but they just change the color of the turtle. So if it's red, it's Raphael. If it's purple, it's Donatello. If it's blue, it's Leonardo. And if it's orange, it's Michelangelo. Um, and
Yeah,
it
sometimes
helps.
we do it for Star Trek too, where we're like, "Well, that's a red shirt, so I'll just color him red."
So I'm going to jump down through here and get through some additional questions as well, because I kind of want to open up the floor for some questions here a little bit. Uh, let me go through here because I saw a couple in here that I wanted to jump onto. Give me one second. Yes. So this is a question: how can we practice to get better at storyboarding style drawing? This is a loaded question because I think storyboarding style drawing it's very open ended, right? Depending on what you're doing, is the boards are going to be different. If you're working in something like live action where you really need to be in the human form, your thing's probably going to be a little bit more angular, a little bit more uh, uh, harsher. I wouldn't say harsher lines, but more uh trying to think of the right way. I said angular, that it's more angular lines and stuff like that. Things that really into to make it feel like it's more human versus if you're working in say animation like you know uh DuckTales, or you're working on lower decks or something, things are probably going to be a lot more rounded um versus what we do in live action. What are your thoughts on this, Crystal?
Um, I think I do think like it depends on the show because like for kids stuff they tend to be a little bit rounder and softer, but that's because like the subject matter is a little bit rounder and softer. But I'm trying to think like what's like a good way to explain that. It's like there, I think like it really depends on the style of the show too. Like I think for like shows that like are in 3D, they do kind of ask you to like do form a bit more. Um, but like 2D shows, they could be like super stylized. So like I'm gonna stop drawing this guy for a hot second. So like they could be like super flat. Like I have a hard time trying to draw these characters, but like they might just be like little a little more flat and a little bit more graphic. Then like you kind of have to have the knowledge of like how do I show form, but like in a graphic sense. A lot of it just kind of has to do with like overlapping shapes, like it's it's like, well, okay, like then it's a different way of thinking, like how maybe like a show like Kim Possible would like draw or like The Loud House. I feel like those are two shows that are like a little bit more challenging for someone like me because it's like but I like drawing with form. But like they would have like a more graphic style, like maybe like, oh, like how do I get really good at drawing Snoopy would be like maybe a good example. No, it's a wonky Snoopy.
But you're absolutely right. The style of the show is also going to dictate what you need and what they're doing. A show like Avatar is going to be very very different than a show like Peppa Pig, right?
Like Snoopy.
So or Snoopy, exactly, or yeah,
Yeah, like
any
it's
of
really
the
hard to nail
Peanuts.
him.
I
Gosh.
mean, that's what they say. Like Mickey Mouse is like so simple but so hard to draw because there's a specific way that character is drawn. Excuse me.
I feel like
That
I drew like
it,
1950s Snoopy. Like like the
oh,
older one before he got like super stylized.
so here's another question from Than asking about line quality. Would you draw thinner lines or thicker lines in general for your boards? Um,
Oh. That's a spicy question because, like, I think it depends on the preference. Oh god, I didn't draw this right either. It depends on the preference of like yourself and your boss kind of. When I first started out, I drew a little bit too thick. So like my lines were like extra hard and thick, and like he really wanted like these nice finer lines. Um and like I just kind of settle on like a width that feels comfortable for me. So like somewhere between 25 and 5 is kind of where I'm at, but kind of depends on my mood for the day. If I'm feeling more gestural, I think the bigger ones are better. Um, gosh, I'm like not remembering. Okay, there we go. I'm like, why do I not? I've like done this pose a billion times. Like, but like I think it's just a preference, but personally I do think that like thinner lines are a little bit better because then you can kind of get more of the nuanced details in like but like sometimes you just feel like the big chunky brush and it kind of sells the action a bit more because you're drawing more boldly with the chunky brush. Maybe I might I might say more like when I'm in thumbs, I tend to use a thicker brush, and then when I clean up, I might use a thinner brush just to like get more details in. I think that's a better way to put it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think starting with the thicker brush is probably the better way to go simply because you are trying to avoid adding unnecessary excess detail. And then as you have figured out the shot and you've worked with your director or whatever, and as you also mentioned, director's going to have their preference of what they want it to look like. But as you've kind of solidified and have more time to go in for those more finite details to really amp up the clarification, then you could probably go a little bit smaller to to kind of round everything out.
Yeah, I think it also depends on the type of show too, because some shows they require you to be extremely clean and on model, and then like other shows are give you a little bit more leniency because what they prioritize is like good composition and like being able to clearly tell the action. So like sometimes it's like, oh well, like we want this to be super clean, but they might not ask for as many poses versus like we would rather you draw more poses, but like more rough about it. So sometimes it's like a give and take. And again, every show has their personality, every showrunner has their preferences, every director has their preferences, every board artist has their preferences. And so like you just kind of end up on shows that like kind of fit your preferences in a weird way. Like I think if I was asked to be two on model, I'm like, I don't know if I would enjoy being on this show, but like I it's probably because I do enjoy like coming up with like shots that like require like animated backgrounds, animated camera moves and stuff, and like that stuff's really hard to get if you're doing every panel like super clean.
Yeah, awesome. So next question that we have in here is also going to be a kind of another loaded question. It's more a little bit more career related on this, but I think it still applies to what we're talking about here too. And that is, do you recommend if you get a job as a cleanup or revisionist, or just find a job as soon as possible. I consider this a loaded question because a revisionist position, while it is an entry level position, is very different from being a story artist or a storyboard artist, right? Because revisionists are a lot more technical. You're the ones that's being given, hey, here's the final notes. We need to finish this up. Whereas you're not really working so much with the story versus a storyboard artist or a story artist where they're like, here's the scene, do it. Right. Here's our suggestions, but yeah, interpret the script and make and do the project.
I
What do
think
you
they're
what are your
also
thoughts on that?
asking they're also asking whether like any position possible is better than like trying to break in as a revisionist. So like I think for example as like a production assistant, I guess is like the route they're probably thinking of, or like as an intern into a production assistant. Um so I would say like there's no best way, it's just the way that happens to happen for you. um some
I
people
I also think
start out
I'm
yeah.
misreading this question as I'm looking at it. They're asking for
Yeah.
tips of what to do to get a job in cleanup, as well.
Oh, I think like for cleanup or like revisions, it tends to be more like your drafting skills are super important. So like, um, if your boards tend to be like really, really flat shots, like comic book style, like a person standing here, they're straight at the camera, like that's gonna be like kind of a game killer. Whereas if you could figure out like how to draw a person, like let's say like looking up like from above and you could draw them in like this space pointing down, then like that person has a higher chance because we know they can handle the harder shots to draw. And like being able to draw in 2 point and 3 point perspective, I wouldn't ask you guys to do fisheye lens, but woof. If you ever wanted a crash course in that, you can work on Rugrats. um, and so, like, I think when it comes to trying to break in as cleanup or as revisions, then it's more important to have your drawing skills be up to a level where like you can draw almost everything, or if you don't know how to draw it, at least you can sit there, think about it for like a minute or two, and then be like, okay, I think I can figure it out. Whereas like if you wanted the other way where it's like, oh well, like I don't know exactly what I want, then I would be like, okay, maybe you should try for like a production role, and then you could see all the different roles in the pipeline, and then you can kind of figure it out from there. But that route I would mostly recommend for someone who's like just either like out of school or like super young, and then like they kind of like work their way through. Whereas like if you clearly know I want to be a storyboard artist, I want to do this, then like it that might not be the best route. And like again, like your mileage may vary depending on which studio you go to. Some studios are really cool and like encouraging development and growth, and other studios are like, no, I want you in this role and I want you to stay in this role because I can't afford to have you leave me. So there's like a little bit of politics too when it comes to like working in a studio setting, that like you kind of have to like either position yourself or like even like purposely leave to like go somewhere else to like get the career path that you want to take.
All right. Awesome. Awesome answer. All right. I have enough time for probably one more question. And it's a drawing related question from Lisa, who is asking, can you show how you would tackle a group pose with overlapping figures? How do you maintain the form and size for consistency?
Ooh, okay. Uh, Let me think. With a group pose, I think it's a little bit of knowing one, the height chart, and two, having perspective in mind ahead of time. So there's this thing called like hanging perspective, or at least was told to me that was hanging perspective, but I think whenever I Google for it, I can't find it. But essentially, like, let's say like you have someone like around this tall, and I'm just gonna use like basic people shape. You know what? They're just gonna be rectangles, and you know what? No, I do need legs. um, And let's say we have someone like around, maybe their eyes are shoulder height, right? So we'll have like the eyes around here. And maybe since they said a group shot, I guess I need a third person. um, maybe, um, maybe someone, maybe, maybe a child. We'll have a child be about like maybe this person tall. um, that might be a bit hard to pull as a sample, but I guess that could work. Like okay, like an awkward nuclear family. There we go. um, and so like let's say like so like the reason why I'm saying this is that this is going to be important is if this person, we'll say like A, B, and C. C for child, huh? Um, so we'll do it in relation to A, and so um, basically where I place the horizon line kind of is important too to relations of this. And so it's like a little bit of reverse engineering, but let's say I'm gonna need like a bigger space for this. Let's see. So if I put, let's say, what kind of like shot do I want? I don't even know.
For the sake of time, let's just do a
Yeah.
simplified straight on shot on this
All right.
particular piece, right? Like a 1 point
So
perspective.
horizon line in the middle. Let's go. Actually, you know what? We'll do it at his hip height. That'll help. So basically, what I want to do is maintain. No, wait, that doesn't help. All right. Upshot maybe. Oh no, I don't know. All right, we'll just go up here and we'll hope for. We'll go for a low angle shot because the child is here. There we go. So we'll aim for knees. um, so basically, like what I want to do is pay attention to like where certain body parts hit the main character. So I want to say, like, for example, if I draw main character here, let's say maybe I need dad in the front. And then maybe like mom's a little bit further behind or something. Like, so like this will be A. Then like anywhere in this horizon line, like from, let's say like I make my horizon point here, like then I need this person's eyeball to like kind of hit up back here on this line. I do need like a ground plane, so it might end up having, it's like a little bit like reverse engineering, like, okay, well, like if this person's here, then I need this person to hit this line here with the eye, and then like I need this child like to hit the same spot here. So if maybe the kid was in the same plane as the mom, then like the kid would be like around this height over here. But like if let's say they're further back, then like they might be like back here, like, mom, wait for me, help, don't leave me behind. It's pretty
No,
messed
I
up.
think I think this is great. This is great because this is exactly right. Where you want it to be is right wherever you have them placed. So it's having that side diagram really helps with putting things into perspective when, especially when you're talking about groups, because then you can use that to your advantage. And it is that hanging perspective that you're talking about. The eye
Mhm.
line is always off of the shoulder of the main person you're going for, and it works its way down and it works its way through.
Or even to the foreground, like if I push this through a bit more, then like I know in the foreground, if I wanted a kid in the front, then like the kid's head has to touch around here.
Yep, absolutely. So I hope that answered your question, Lisa. But yeah, this is a great way of being able to handle and deal with your perspective. Um, so yeah, and thank you very much, Crystal, for this presentation. I do kind of want to bring up here at the end because we've got a few minutes left here in our presentation here. That so what you guys have just seen today is what we do in our mentorship course. I'm actually going to toss up a quick little banner here in case if anybody is interested in joining it. Basically, every week we have presentations and stuff like this that you get access to whenever you're when you join in. All of those sessions are recorded. This one, for those of you who had asked, is actually recorded and is going to be up for a little bit on our YouTube page soon. This is what we do every week, teaching you things like this. And we don't just go into the simplimation of the drawing stuff. We go into things like story structure. We talk about films. We break down and analyze movies while we're doing it with our mentors. And we have the same Q&A that goes through as well, for you to be able to get your questions answered and talk to our mentors to continue to improve and build on your skills. So that's what we do here in the mentorship. On top of that, because I saw somebody had asked a question earlier about Toon Boom, where they were talking about how they had lost their access to Toon Boom after getting out of school. You get access to Toon Boom for the year while you're in the program. But if this is something that you guys are interested in, check out the link, storyboardart.org /mentorship, and hit us up. We're more than happy to talk to you about it and see if you might be right for the program, because it's really what it's about: improving, getting better, and finding ways to get your foot in the door. Right, Crystal?
Oh man, that foot in that door.
So, yeah, but yeah, with that, I'm gonna to leave you guys with an extra little bumper here. We hope you guys enjoyed today's presentation, today's session, and we look forward to chatting with you guys more and whatnot. All right, so let me just pull this guy up here for you. Where is it? 1 second.
Should I stop presenting?
Yeah, you can go ahead if you want. I'm just finding my final video clip here for you guys. Enjoy.
The mentorship experience has been the best learning experience that I've ever had about story.
It was a game changer.
It sort of felt like it's been an extension of my schooling experience. I think the consistency of work, the challenge of the assignments.
This entire system that you have going, it is so perfect for the time we are in, right evolution of the formula of online schooling.